Merry Meet, everyone. I'm so happy you joined me today. My name is Glennis, and I'm the Witch of Whitetail Hollow. Again, if you're rejoining me, if you've already subscribed, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy you're here, and if you're new, and if you just found me, gosh, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. I'm really starting to sound like a YouTuber now, but what I wanted to do is welcome you all and thank you so, so much, because after being solitaire, which I still am, but after being solitaire for so incredibly long, it's a refreshing change to be able to share stories and share a little bit about what I do. But today, I owe you guys, I think, another ghost story. And one reason being is that this involves my mother, and this July 7th, will be the 3rd anniversary of her death. So with that, all I want to say is everything that I tell you here as far as my ghost stories are concerned, and actually everything else too, is exactly as it happened. There's no exaggerations. There's no, well, I'll embellish it a little bit or change it up a little bit. No, because the truth is, I don't need to. Now I do, like some of the things that happened to my brother at that time and my sister at that time, all I can do is relay what they told to me. One incident being that I was in the next room where my sister was. So with that being said, my mother actually had been in very, very good health with no problems, and then, you know, poof, all of a sudden she becomes ill and, you know, is hospitalized and subsequently passes away. But before I could even drive down to where they are on the Gulf Coast, she was gone. So I was there. I grabbed a hotel really, really quickly. And, you know, we're going through the process that unfortunately we all go through and making arrangements and things like that. And after a day, I was at my hotel and by myself, and my phone had, and I don't know what happened to my phone, but as I stood there, a clarinet played over my phone. Well, that might have actually been one of the noises or sound effects or something that is on the phone, but it was not one that I had set up for any kind of email notification or anything. And I looked at my phone and I couldn't see where anything had changed. And as it turns out, my mother, when she was, of course, in high school, this was high school, she played the clarinet, and she was very musically inclined. So I kind of took that as a sign, you know what, I'm going to leave the hotel, I'm checking out. So that's what I did. I checked out and I went and I stayed with my sister. But after, you know, the funeral, everything went fine. It was nothing happened out of the ordinary. But I went back home. I gave it a couple of weeks, and I went back for a longer visit to help my sister settle the estate and empty the house and things like that. But excuse me, as I did, I drove down, and my sister's trying to phone me, and my nephew's trying to phone me, and a lot of people are trying to phone me. And for some reason, my phone was just so old at that time that for some reason it wasn't picking up satellites and things, right? So I got to my sister's house, and she says, well, we can't have you on the road by yourself and not being able to get through to you, or you not being able to get through to anyone else. So she gave me my mom's phone. And again, you know, everything was fine. We went to my mom's house and we started the process of working. I brought all of the empty boxes that I could muster, and tape and packing paper and all of that. And I set my purse. Mom's house has got a very large kitchen with a very large den added onto it, and on this wall there's like a complete floor to ceiling built in. On the bottom it's closed, but shelves. And So at the bar area, where there's bar stools, of course, I just set my purse there, and she gave me the phone. I said, okay, and I set it on my purse, and I went into the dining room, which unfortunately is the next room, and I could not see into the kitchen nor the den, but I heard my sister, and I don't know how much time had lapsed, but I heard my sister not yell, but I heard something happening, and I walked out there only to find my sister standing in the middle of the den picking up the phone. The phone had come. Now these were like, the backs of the bar stools were kind of like this, like at shoulder. The phone had come out of my purse over the backrest into the middle of the floor. So I'm like, okay, all right, and she was a little shook up about it, and I said, well, let's just, set the phone up here. And now that's not the only story about the phone, but for that moment it was. But so we carried on about our business. And later that day, her daughter, my niece, came to help us. So again, we're in this one big room. Now this was always the hub of the home, even though they had added on to the house. And my niece was working in the kitchen. Again, this is all one big open area. My niece is working in the kitchen. We have no radios or televisions or anything on because we're going through 50 years worth of stuff. And my sister and I are standing at the wall, which, it's an affectionate term, but the built-in bookcase all the way up. And I'm standing in there, and my sister's standing there, and she's probably maybe 2 feet away from me. And on this side of me, there's a doorway, leads down to a hall, and there's, of course, bedrooms on one side and bedrooms on the other, and then there's a formal living room. So it's not like we're standing in a den at street level. And believe me, it's a 2-acre lot, so we're nowhere near street level. And on my sister's side, the den that they added on to, and then of course my niece is back there, and I'm standing there, and we're going through all of this stuff, and it just seems like down the hall, and I'm listening, and things are quiet, and I'm listening, and all of a sudden things aren't quiet. And I hear very, very faintly music playing. Now, I couldn't tell you what instrument it is. I couldn't tell you the first thing about it. I couldn't even tell you the tune. But I could just very faintly hear music playing. And I paused for a moment to make sure I'm hearing what I'm hearing. And it's just playing. And I looked to my sister and I said her name. I don't want to say her name here, but I said, stop what you're doing. Listen to this. And I said it very quietly. And she turned her head. And she listened very quietly. And she didn't say a word. And Anne, I almost said her name, but my niece is in the kitchen, and she's picking up that we're like this, going, okay, we're listening, She quietly walks over, and the three of us stand there at the wall, and we can hear music just very faintly, very, very faintly, but we can hear it. And I'd like to think that this was one way of my mother saying, I'm here, is everybody okay? And so, and as quick as it come, it very slowly faded away, and we carried on with our work. And nothing happened the rest of that day. But the next day now, my sister is a notorious, she loves to sleep in. She will sleep in till noon if she could. And I'm the exact polar opposite. What my sister is, I'm the exact polar opposite of her. I think nothing of getting up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and, hey, my day started, woohoo, But, so I told her, I said, why don't you give me the key to the house, and I will go over early. You can drive over. I said, I'll go over early and let me just let myself in. I can start packing up. I can get an awful lot done because, unfortunately, I'm very experienced with packing. So she gave me the key. She was reluctant to, but she gave me the key. And so she said, well, you know, the deadbolt on the back, right where it leads into the kitchen, and she says it sticks a little bit. And I said, I'm like, you know, worst case scenario, I'll just drive back to your house, right? So I take the key, I head over, and so I have the key, I put it in the deadbolt, and I go to, and I just test the doorknob. Well, the doorknob's not locked. So I'm like, okay, whatever, right? So I turn the deadbolt, and I can hear it tumble, and of course, in the interim, I'm setting my purse down and all of the other little things that I have. So it tumbles, and I pull the key back to pull it out, and I pull it out, and I go to grab the doorknob, and the doorknob locked on me. And I immediately became upset because I took it as my mom doesn't want me to come into the house, at least not without my sister. So I'm pretty upset, but I took the key and I'm like, okay, I got to get a grip. So I took the key, I put it into the doorknob, and I unlocked it, and I went in, and I apologized. At that moment, I apologized to my mother. I said, I'm so sorry that I wasn't there when you passed. I was on my way, but I couldn't get here quick enough. I said, just, you know, be calm, let us get this done, everybody's fine. And nothing happened the rest of that day, but one thing that oddly did happen was, as my sister would call me on the phone, I was playing with the phone and set the phone up to where it would announce whoever's name was that it was calling, whether it be John Doe or Jane Doe or whoever, and she phoned me, and instead of it saying her name, her legal name, as it was in the address book, because I looked in the address book and I said, okay, there's my sister's name and her number. And instead of it saying her name, it went and defaulted to her maiden name, to of course both of our maiden names. And that was, and I told my sister once she got there, I said, call me, pick up your phone and call me. So she did. She picked the phone up, and instead of it saying her name, it said, and it defaulted to our maiden name. And oddly enough, the same very thing happened to my brother. When my sister would go to call him, instead of it defaulting to her married legal name, it went and defaulted to her maiden name. So I'm not really quite sure how to take that as far as my mother is concerned. I couldn't even begin to tell you. But, you know, everything after that, I think, went fine. But I've had just too many experiences in my life to say, right here where we are now is all we have. Because I've had experiences with my grandfather when he passed, with a very dear friend when they passed, I mean at the moment they passed, and with my father. I think my father's was particularly dramatic, in which that shouldn't be any surprise, but because he was a very dramatic kind of guy. But that's why I know I've just had too many things happen that I know that this is not all that we have. Now, I'm not saying we are reincarnated in one way, shape, or form. I don't know about that. Although I do have a deal with someone, and I told them, I said, after I'm gone, you know, look for this sign. This is how I'm going to show up. If in fact this is a possibility, I'll come back, and I'll come back as something. So I'm hoping that they won't turn me away if I show up at their door going, hey, you know. But anyway, so yeah, don't ever think that this is it. And I'd like to think that the way people have come back to me has been showing me that this is not all that we are offered. And I think they are showing me that, yeah, are you okay? You know, is everything okay? I'm okay. Are you okay? You know, so what do you guys think? You know, leave a comment below. And when it comes time, closer to time, to tell you my father's story, in which there was actually someone sitting there with me that can say, you know what, yes, this is exactly how it happened, and there's just no two ways about that. But, again, that's another story. But I hope you guys have a great day. And with that, I will say merry part. And I so hope to merry meet again. Bye, guys.